Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, we have two individuals that have been on the podcast by themselves, and now they are coming on together. You guys are bestest of friends, and we have Herb and Lance.
Allegedly.
Best friends.
Backed by popular demand.
Yeah.
Partners, one could say.
Yeah.
Partners.
Domestic partners.
Domestically, yes.
Absolutely.
And so Lance is with Sniper Bladeworks. Focus. We got phones over
We've
here.
got a ninja spy coming into the shot.
So both of your guys it's funny how we take both stories and how they commingle so much. And
Dovetail, if you will.
Dovetail together.
Beautiful.
And somebody get food around here?
Is it Taco Tuesday again?
Dude, it feels
So
like
I thought that was Dane, and I was like,
Is this not the
I've been around you a lot.
Taco Tuesday review we're here for?
this is... we forgot the time.
Surprise.
I knew we
It's not
forgot
Taco
something.
Day?
That's the only reason we're here.
yeah,
I'm out of here.
we're done. So we've went over your story. We've went over your story. Let's look at the Herb Lance story. When did you guys meet?
We met at the sheriff's department.
Worst day of my life.
They actually made us share a car.
My car.
Oh.
So the K9 guy wrecked his car. And they're not going to give him a new car to put the dog in. And I was the new guy on the road and had an old car. So they're like, Lance, you've lost your car. You're going to share it with Herb. And I'd probably met Herb before that, but that's when we started interacting more. Because prior to that, I was jail scum.
And I was senior guy on the road. I was still on road patrol then, so I was senior guy at that time.
So I'd drive over to Herb's place, take the car on midnights, and then drop it back off in the morning. And but our days off weren't exactly the same. So one of those evenings, I was going out drinking with some friends of mine from back at the plaza for my security gig prior to that. And we went down to Kelly's because they opened up early. And I'd been smoking cigars, which I do, but I'd forgotten to throw them out, and it was summertime. So they sat in there, and it was on Herb's days off, so they sat in there for a day or two just cooking in the sun.
Burnt cigars.
And this
is
is
not a cigar.
And this was prior to Herb. Herb had a pretty much zero tolerance for smoking back then. He didn't enjoy a good cigar yet. He was so pissed. He left me a shitty note when I got in it, and he came sprinting out to the car.
Be like, you be fucking walking. That happens again.
I'm like, sorry, dude. I was trying to get my drink on. I had shit to do.
That had to have smelled terrible.
Oh, God. I come out, and I was pissed. Sucker.
So that's you guys right out the gate. So when did you guys start working together? Or was that, were you guys working together at that point, just sharing a car?
We were on different shifts.
Like stepbrothers?
Wait, I don't think we ever worked the same shift together.
Not on the road.
Yeah, because I was days, weekends off. We bid by seniority. So he was midnight trash. So
Right, so I went from
Like Tuesdays
jail
and Wednesdays?
scum to midnight trash. That is a step up.
You can't be a big step up, is it?
I mean, you're not jail scum anymore. You're out on the road. You're not locked in there with them.
All right.
got your own car.
Well,
No, yeah,
you
your
did.
car.
you're sharing a car.
Right.
Till
The
somebody
no,
crashes.
dude, after that, it was a few days. He got some other shit.
Okay.
After the cigar incident, you were hitting
Well, then he claimed there was tar all over the car, which I think you did and just made me clean off. He's like, there's a lot of tar on this car. Where were you driving? I'd like it cleaned off. And I'm like, I don't even know if I did this, but fuck it. I guess I'll make up for the cigar thing.
But you're midnight trash, so I mean, what are you going to do?
You're going to scrape the tar off the car.
So what'd you do at like on midnight patrol? Would you go out and like drag race other people, and like what did a midnight patrol look like?
I mean, it's the same as days or PMs. Are just fewer people out. I mean, you're still running traffic. You're probably hunting more drunks. And they had several bars that were problems, so you'd go deal with that. Just run traffic, and then, by that time, 2, 3 in the morning, people had a good chance to get liquored up and not be able to sort out their problems and need some law enforcement intervention to help.
Counseling.
Yeah.
Like a good cigar on the side of the road.
Yeah, I smoked a lot of cigars on patrol. I mean, that normally would be a no-go, but all of our captains smoked like chimneys. So they're not going to say you can't smoke because then they couldn't smoke.
Right.
So.
Well, that's a plus.
That was awesome.
Because I don't think I've seen somebody smoke more cigars than Lance.
Oh, shit, I used to smoke like 5 a day.
Oh, I tell people all the time, like, my job's pretty cool. Like, when I go to meetings, we go to shooters and we shoot guns and have a great time there, acquire more guns. And then we go to Sniper and I smoke cigars and drink whiskey. And, like, this doesn't really feel like work. But so that was at the sheriff's department, right?
Correct.
So how long were you guys at the sheriff's department before you ended up in SWAT?
Did you come? Were you?
You were on. I mean, Herb was already on the
I was
SWAT
on
team by the time
I was
I
on
started.
when we first started the team in the very beginning, I think this was like 90,
Was this when you were in the front?
91. Yeah, that's when I was point. Yep.
That was before you got moved to the back.
So, yep. Yeah, 5th.
And Herb was still point guy for a minute when I got there. So I don't know. I'd been on about a year before I got on the team.
So what does that transition look like, you joining into?
Well, it's a collateral duty, so you're still doing your regular job, but you just get a certain amount of time off to train, and then you get time off if you're going to call outs or you're coming out extra. But that's when we actually started hanging out and doing more stuff together.
So it's not like you're not full-time SWAT. That's all you do.
Right.
Okay.
You got call-outs on a pretty regular basis. We did training once or twice a month. On top of that, we'd have a
Plus,
training day.
wherever else we could scam it.
Right. Yep.
Like, this is important. We need to do this.
We definitely need to be here.
So basically what you're asking is he started out as jail scum, moved to midnight trash, to the SRT team. He's just a perimeter dude.
Right.
So what's the SRT team? What's that?
So special response team.
SWAT team, just another name for it.
So when you were doing that, what was your actual daily duties?
To start with, I was on the road, so I was still on patrol. And then somewhere in there, Herb went to the detective unit, and then I went a little bit after that, like year.
I went in 96.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't start till 96. I started at the end of 96.
96 was a good year.
That's when Ricky was born.
That was a
Great.
good year.
I was 2 years old.
Maybe 97. I don't know. Maybe you were there.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And then when we went to the detective unit, then we worked together all the time. And then they should have seen that one coming. Because that was something special.
I feel like their story is the same as like Mahomes and Kelsey, like when they first hung out and they both show up late the next day. They're like, "Were you two together?"
Exactly. I think we made a lot less money. But but very similar.
That's
other
the
than
only.
that.
That's the only
Only
difference.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, no, we had a good time as
we did.
detectives, and good time getting to do SWAT stuff.
Apparently my last story got edited out.
Just one of them.
Just one of them.
Only one of them.
One of them made it in.
Most of them made it in. There's only
Yeah.
one that got pulled.
One of them was a little far.
Yeah, someday we'll have the proper bandwidth to be able to discuss
Right.
good cop, bad cop on the air.
After our audience gets large enough, it can get there.
Well,
I
and
think right now
tempered.
we're-
After they see us a couple more times, they've been indoctrinated a little more and know what to expect.
Or
Anything's possible.
we just start a podcast for you guys and you just talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It's called the X-rated podcast. It all goes.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. The whole beginning is a disclaimer. So how long were you guys detectives then?
Lance is like, I'm still a detective.
I ran
Actually, can't talk about that.
about 9 years in the detective unit.
I was there 4.5 or 5 maybe, but I left in 2001 after 9/11 and went to the Air Marshal.
That's right.
Yep.
So
So being a detective, did you dressed like was it Sherlock Holmes?
Dude, you say things like this. When we go pig hunting, this is how he has a safari jacket, a safari smoking jacket.
Shit, I should have brought that. I actually have a. But you guys, when you guys get the bug up out of your ass about smoking in here, I will bring it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have a cigar podcast.
Oh, if it was up to me, the next location we've already discussed. The next location we will be building, and the podcast room will be a fully done up cigar room.
So when's that going to happen? Because I could go for cigar right now.
Dane's got to make a lot more money before I can build that building. So we're on the process. We're
trying.
We're trying. We're trying to get there.
No, for how I look now. So we were shirt and tie, suit and tie. And I took it seriously. I dressed nice. They were a lot of times they're like, you look more like a banker than a cop.
We Jerry Garcia ties.
Yeah. We were fans. The people down at Michael's down on Main liked us.
So
we're pretty snazzy.
When you moved over to detective, what did your role look like daily compared to SWAT and patrol before?
Well, so we're still doing SWAT. You're just getting called out. Right. On the road, I mean, there's a few things you're doing that are proactive and patrolling, but you're answering calls. So as a detective, you're issued a handful of cases, and sometimes a shit ton of cases, which are, a good portion of our time over there, they gave you more work than you could ever get through. And then they would be like, that's not a great idea. We're going to stop doing that. And they'd give you a reasonable amount that you could conceivably work.
Yeah.
And then it would kind of go back to the same thing, and then you'd just be overwhelmed. So you really only have time to work on the most important things or something that was important to somebody else. They'd come in and yell at you. They're like, why didn't you do this? Because I got 70 cases. I can't get through them.
Right.
And so then you'd work on that one for a while till they went away.
So, I mean, they make full, TV shows about, singular cases. And what would you say some of the most interesting cases were that you had?
I mean, we had a couple murders that were interesting.
Herb's laughing over there.
Are you going back to bad cop case?
No, I can't tell that. So,
we'd had some serious theft or property crime, property damage, things that went into multi-$1,000s that were kind of interesting how they all worked out. I mean, a lot of times it's just harassing people. I had a huge office to myself for a minute. And it was like a 2-person office, and there wasn't anybody else in there. So I stole both telephones. So I'd get one phone, I'd make my calls off the secondary line, but I had my line open, and I would just harass people all day. Right? I'd call their neighbors. If they wouldn't call me back, I'd call their relatives. They'd be like, "Fuck you, you can't do that." I'm like, "I can, and I'm going to start calling your work. You need to come in and talk to me." So I'd light them up on the phones. We can't exactly tell that one, but we went to where that dipshit called me a not so nice name when we showed up at his work.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
That one was a good one. And that was another one. I was calling some relatives. I'm like, you have to come in and talk to me. If you do that, I'll quit calling you.
It's that simple.
And most of the time, I think, though, they were, seriously, they were concerned about going to jail, right then. If you could alleviate that concern for them, they would usually come in and talk to you.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, were these people that, they may know something about a case, or is this is the person that probably did it?
They're generally a suspect.
Yeah. 90% of the time.
So, but if you could, assure them, hey, I'm not going to put you in jail today, right? I don't have a magic wand. I can't make this go away. I mean, you may have to go to court, but I can promise you I'm not going to lock you up today, but you do need to come talk to me.
Surprise!
Good cop, bad cop. Then I arrested him.
No,
I said I wasn't going to do it. I said I wasn't.
Herb arrests people all the time. I can't speak for him.
No, I mean, that'd be funny, but no, we actually didn't do that. I mean, we really, part of that, I mean, you're going to shoot them square.
Yeah.
And they come in and talk to you, and you'd be like, all right, we'll see what happens. I'll send it up the chain.
Yep. All you do is report.
Yeah.
And then the prosecutor can decide what they want to do.
You get 10.
But really, I mean, you get more. I mean, the whole good cop, bad cop shit that I always wanted. I think just because I'm generally pretty polite,
Yeah.
So I kind of like the idea of getting to be a dick to some people.
Yeah. In a productive manner.
Yeah.
It's like,
for a reason.
Yeah.
So what was the majority of the time, like, I feel like when you, and you can tell me if I'm completely wrong about movies, I feel like most of the time when they, like, have a hunch on someone and they're, like, working that person, a lot of times they're liars and they're just lying. Like, I've always given people the benefit of the doubt being good people. Car business, I found out all the time, people just flat out lied to you just nonstop. And it was crazy. Now, I'm thinking if they're dealing with the law, they're probably 10 times worse.
Oh, totally.
So you get more out of them by being nice. And really, you're just talking to them. You know, if you could not be judgmental, at least outwardly, right? I mean, like, that's hard to do if somebody just molested a kid. But you just, you know, you turn that off and you're just like, dude, like, I don't know what happened. But, you know, I'm not mad at you. I'm just trying to find out what's going on here.
See, I don't know how you could sit there and...
Well, you got to.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to get shit.
There's two parts to it. The first part's an interview. All you are is a fact-finding mission. You're trying to get enough information from them to develop some kind of theme. And then you do that, like Lance was saying, you be nice to them. You know, you get more with it at some point. And then you get to the point where you're done with that person interview, get him some water, coffee, whatever he wanted. And you go out and we sit down in, like, my office or his office, we formulate, you know, our plan of attack. And then the interrogation stuff talks. And this is what I teach to these guys, like when we buy guns and stuff, you know. First guy that talks loses. So your job is when you go in there and start the interrogation, excuse me, you go in, you're standing up over the top of them in a dominant position, and you accuse them of whatever. I think you murdered your kids. You actually burn them to death. Stop. Next person talks, loses.
They teach the same thing in car sales. Same shit.
Very similar.
Just life lessons.
Yep. The opening is a little different. Like,
Like, this is going to be your payment. Which one do you want?
shut the fuck up.
Slightly different, but similar.
The
thing
first sales manager I had, he goes, where his office at, he goes, if you go out there and you give that payment, and I hear a fucking word out of your mouth, he goes, you don't have a job here. I was like, real wide-eyed. And I look like a 90s car salesman. I thought I just went and got new slacks and I had a button up. I was like, okay. I just sat down. I'm like, it felt like it was like 3 hours. Very, very similar thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then in that, like, opening thing, I mean, they're going to lie to you, and that's fine, because sometimes we know some things that are true. So we'll let them lie, right? And then you can kind of filter out what was truthful and what wasn't, but then you can come back to them and be like, okay, I know this isn't true. Why are you lying to me? Right? You can end up kind of painting them in a corner, and then, you know, at some point they'll realize, like, oh, they know more than...
You get them to the point where they're just about ready to break. Scoot your chair around, touch them on the arm, make that contact, that touch contact. 9 times out of 10, they'll fold. Especially with, like, rape things, child molestation, stuff like that.
Did you guys deal with a lot of that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't think I'd be able to sit at a table with someone that did that.
Were you in on the one Donna took it? I think we took it over, where she'd burn her 2 little kids to death.
I wasn't there for that
Yeah, I
one,
was there for that.
fortunately.
Yeah, I took the interview from her. She was mom, so she had a rough time with it.
Yeah.
This lady her kids had both been sick, one sicker than the other, and I mean, they were less than 12 months old, and she had them in a room, and they both had separate baby beds, and it was an older house up towards north of Platte City. They put a space heater and moved the kid right next to the space heater. It was so hot, it eventually killed him. I mean, when they did the autopsy on him, there was no wet blood. It was all dried. So that's a tough one, but I got her to, you know, admit, I switch around, you know, and touch her and like, hey, I understand. I got kids, you know, you sympathize with them. You know, I can understand why you'd kill your kid. You know, I get it. I understand why you did it. He's crying all the time. Days and days and days. There's no peace. I get it. You know, and then touch her. Bam. Good to go. Then you lock her ass up.
There's some fucked up individuals that walk this planet.
There are. Now, Herb didn't always subscribe to that mindset. Tell him in the Air Force where you kind of disciplined that guy on the spot with a Spatula?
What?
Spaghetti stir? Herb might have lost a stripe over that one.
I got in a little trouble for that one. I'm not going to tell you where I was at, but like I said, I was a canine handler, and we didn't take a lot of domestic. The fuck are you laughing at?
It's a good one.
It wasn't in the shower.
Was not in the shower. I was a dog handler, so we didn't take a lot of domestic calls. We let the regular coppers do that. Yep. So
You don't need a dog for that.
no, you don't. And got a lot of guys were on chow. We're on midnight shift, and all the guys were at chow. So I took one of their sectors and got a domestic there, and baby crying hysterically. So I pull up. It's on base housing, and I walk up the door, and I hear this baby just screaming bloody murder. Well, I knock on the door, and this jackass opens the door, and he's standing there with a metal spaghetti stirrer, and it's completely covered in blood. So once I see that, of course, I push through him, take it from him, keep shoving him back in the house until I can find this baby. This baby is covered in blood that he'd been beating this little infant with the spaghetti stirrer. I snapped. I broke his jaw, cheekbones.
When you beat him with the thing, too.
I don't even think I have words for that.
People are horrible.
Yeah.
Yep. I was 18 or 19 years old. I'd never seen any shit like that before. I grew up in Parkville, Missouri. Didn't have that kind of stuff. And I just snapped. I didn't even know what I was doing.
If I walked up on that, I'd do the same thing. Like I would.
The only thing that saved the guy is the backup. Because he was done, dude. He was X's in his eyes. My commander wasn't too thrilled with me.
Yeah.
He understood it.
Yeah.
But he wasn't too thrilled with me.
I know that's the hard part is there's like so much of it that you look at that you're like, okay, 10 out of 10 people would do the same thing. But then it's like, well, you're not supposed to do that.
Well, and especially now, like I feel like if similar situation arises, like if you do the wrong thing as far as the law, like as far as what you're supposed to do, then they can end up getting out of it, or at least that's what it seems to be.
That'd be great body cam footage now.
Oh, yeah.
You're just doing work on some dude with a spaghetti spatula.
I don't think I hit him with that part of it, but mostly my fists.
So what was the next step there in your guys's? Did you work together anywhere else besides?
Just he was my detective partner. I had to train. He came off the road, and I was his FTO, and that's when we did that other story about the rape victim lady. That was the first week or 10 days he was with me, still in training. After that, I actually kind of started liking him then.
Took a minute.
He was around long enough that eventually you're like, well, I guess I'll just like him.
I can't get rid of him.
I'm stuck with him now.
He's like, this dude hangs around the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, and like 25 years later, I'm still here.
You're hanging in strong.
Yes.
We did pretty much everything together back then. We hunted a little bit together and hung out all the time. I like to smoke meat and all that good stuff. And want to tell them about your best turkey you ever ate? That's a good one.
Yeah, he deep fried a turkey. We had a bunch of SWAT guys over one night. We're hanging out. And this thing, he injected it, but it was perfect. And he's carving it at the counter, and we're all just, like, he gave out a couple samples. And then
Savages.
We all just stayed there. No one ever got a plate. We just ate the entire bird off the cutting board. It was fantastic.
Savages.
Sounds incredible.
It was good.
It's
kind of
the
like
single best turkey I've ever had.
Sounds kind of like Shooter's lunch on Mondays.
Well, if you look at our relationship, a lot of that centers around food.
Yeah.
And you can ask Lance this: what's the most important decision you make in a day as a detective?
How many Diet Cokes you're going to drink?
Nope.
Where are we going to eat lunch?
That's right. That's the first thing we did in the morning. We're going to have lunch today. Now, being a detective, that offered some stuff to you. You didn't have to stay in Platte County. Most of the cases took us, we spent a lot of time over off Independence Avenue and Condero doing follow-ups and dumbasses. But that was it. We used to eat at
Tommy's,
down.
which was a Cascone's offshoot. It was kind of like Cascone's and Applebee's had a love child.
Yeah.
Was it
was good
Tommy
stuff.
Cascone that had it?
Uh-huh.
Probably.
Yep.
So he opened up that new social.
Oh yeah, Oak Ridge, right?
Yeah, Oak Ridge.
Yep.
He can-
I haven't
he can
been up
cook.
there yet.
That
Yeah, oh
is.
yeah, he's a good dude.
Did you ever have the Gladstone tenderloin? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, he's right down the street from where Stroud's is.
Yeah, I know. It's the
Yeah.
putt-putt. Yep.
Oh shit! Well, that's right by the gun shop. We should go there.
I think we should.
They
The
have
food's really good.
Tell them about the cigar room.
Oh yeah, if you're a member, they have an upstairs private cigar lounge.
Maybe we can do some dealing at the gun shop.
That's what I was thinking.
Do they have Spadini?
I don't know.
That should be your
You
one of
should-
the top
You
questions.
should have had that already figured out for us.
It's all right.
That's our bad.
Now you know.
Next time we'll know.
I'm gonna go into Taco Bell next time. Like, you guys got Spadini?
Lance
When they
is
say
out.
no, Lance isn't coming here. Sorry guys. You guys have Diet Coke. He might still come here.
Pepsi.
So, what were your thoughts when Lance decided to start making knives?
Lance was always a knife guy. From the very first day that I met him, it was about knives, and we actually bought a couple of Striders, and
I was in the early days of Strider too.
it was like $350 for a knife.
I think it was more.
So they were still that much back then?
Oh, dude, and then back then, $350 was like
yeah.
$800 or $900 now.
That's $350 back then, a little bit different than $350 on a knife now.
And
They were the
kids-
GBs.
my kids did without food that month.
You're like, well, check out this knife that you can't play with it, but
Right.
Because you
Dad's
could
got
get
a
them
cool
numbered. We
knife.
got numbered. I had 55 and Herb had 56.
Yep.
that's cool.
Yep, 056. And mine ended up traveling all over the world. I wore it as an air marshal.
So how many times had you been in Lance's shop before he yelled at you about setting metal on metal?
Lance has never yelled at me in the shop.
You know why? Because Herb knows not to do metal on metal fucking contact. That shit scratches it. And he's the one that paints it. He's got to redo it.
That's right. And I'm pissed off.
Truth of the matter is, Herb probably yelled at me like, stop touching that shit together.
He'd be yelling at himself. He's got to go fix it.
Yeah. So now that I knew that they were a team, I should have seen that one coming.
That's right.
That's true.
This is not your podcast. This is our interrogation.
I know.
Paint him
I'm
into a
glad
corner.
I brought everyone here.
So
to
some
video
of the
my own
questions we're going to
interrogation.
ask you today, we already know the answers to. I just kind of use that as a gauge to see how truthful you're being.
Yep.
And then a little bit later on, I'm like, how do you think you're doing?
So I didn't lie about the metal on metal.
No,
I
he was
took-
very, very honest.
very honest about it.
By the end of the podcast, we will have you in the fetal position.
in the corner crying.
Now, we would, on cases that were not real serious, we'd have a little more fun with it, which was great. So, like when we came back in for the interrogation part, or maybe before we left, if it was just horrible, I'd be like, hey, look, dude, this story just absolutely sucks. Like, my partner and I are going to step out, and I need you to come up with something better because you don't want to go to court with this one. Like, I don't even care if it's true, but give me something better because this one blows. We'll be back in a minute. And just say some crazy shit to him and let him stew on that.
Oh, my goodness.
If I was sitting at a police station and someone said that to me and they walked out, I'm like, I swear to God, that was true.
Or the other good one we'd have is I'd do it with Herb and then our buddy Jag that you guys have met. I look at him, I'm like, you know what? And they nod. I'm like, that just sounds made up.
That just sounds made up, yeah.
So when you did that, were there ever people like that would just cough up all kinds of different shit?
Yeah, or they just, you just get them off kilter a little bit, because I think they think it's going to be super, super formal. And if you can kind of jar them a bit, or they're like, anytime they said, again, it couldn't be a real serious one, but like, that's the truth. I swear to God. I'd be like, praise Jesus.
Well, if you're swearing to God, then I guess we're done here.
Yeah, that's it.
We're done.
That's got to be the
Go
truth.
home. So when you got into knives, when was that? And I mean, you've helped in it, kind of, maybe.
I mean, when we were we was in his garage. I think that was basically the first shop. It was in a little single car garage. It had all kind of
So
shit in there.
I did some stuff before I quit the sheriff's department. So Herb had gone to the air marshals.
Okay.
He left you. Just
He left me. Well, he tried to take me with him, but the fact that I don't like to fly, and I don't
makes
know
it tough,
if
doesn't
we
it?
told you guys, and then the DEA got me pretty close to being killed in a plane wreck, and I already didn't like to fly.
how close is close?
And the plane that I got off of, when they took it off, the pilot died and it crashed. And had it not been Memorial Day, I would have been flying back with him.
Yep.
Okay, sounds pretty serious.
That's pretty close.
And he called me that night.
And they thought I was on board for a while too, which was just weird. But they're like, "You need to call home because rumors are going to get started. You got to call the air wing first, then you got to call home.
Yep. Then he called me. I was just coming in back into Denver where I was stationed out as an air marshal. He's like, man, I got to talk to you, brother. I said, you should have come with me.
Yeah, you could have done this shit 6 times a day.
Way better.
I mean, I would have sucked it up for a while, but then one day, I'd be getting on a flight in Cleveland and just be like, nope, never again.
I'm done. They have Pepsi. I only drink Coke. I'm out.
Right. Where's the nearest Greyhound station? I'm going home.
That's right.
So are you still anti-plane?
I mean, I fly when I have to. I mean, I also got good and liquored up. I don't know.
We actually flew together a couple times.
You don't drink now, so how do you fly now?
I don't know. I'll probably start taking Xanax or somebody's gummies.
It's just going to be out for the whole time.
I mean, I get it's a control thing, right? I mean, I know it's not a real rational concern. I mean, statistically, it's not.
So I don't have a big issue with planes, but I'm in a similar situation where like you have zero control. Like you just
I mean,
hope the pilot's having a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Was he out chasing trim all night? Drinking? Ground crew having a good day? Are they pissed off at their boss because they're not getting their raises? I mean, think about now. I mean, how hard it is to hire somebody that's not just a complete and utter jackwagon. And is that some bitch working on the plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just, I guess I'll just trust you. I'll get on there, and then you get some kind of flight attendant. It's a great big fucking pain in the ass. Like, yeah, no.
We flew. I took good care when we flew together. Where'd we go?
We went to Brent's birthday.
Denver.
So do you get special perks flying now?
No,
not anymore.
We scammed this one because he had just left, but
I just retired.
But they didn't know that, so they'd seen him there many times, and we just kind of walked up and sort of did the we're off-duty air marshal thing.
Right.
Boarded like first few sets of people, sat anywhere we wanted, good treatment both ways, so that was good.
They're like, welcome aboard. We appreciate you.
Got him liquored up in the back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try that next time.
Good.
So it definitely doesn't work now like that.
You don't think
and
so?
especially if they don't recognize you before.
How long ago was that?
I was still at the sheriff's department, probably 08 or something.
09.
I think we should.
Probably been 08 because
it's
it was his 40th birthday, so it probably would have been around 08.
Right, that's true. That was a good party.
It was.
So we figured out on here that Lance doesn't do planes.
Yeah, not unless we have to. Like for Africa, we're going to have to fly.
That is true. I don't think we're gonna drive there.
Lance can just leave like a month early and take a boat.
Yep.
I looked at that. There's no cruise ships that cruise from here to there.
I want like a point A to point B.
That's perfect.
Take
perfect.
Me right
He's
down
already
there.
checked it out.
Yeah, unless I sign
There's
up
no
as a
ships.
merchant marine or some shit. That isn't going to work.
Have you seen the movie Titanic? They died on a boat.
I could swim.
From
How far?
Well, I mean, hopefully somebody rescues me.
you can swim till someone rescues.
I
don't think so.
Dude, they
could swim
they
for
taught me
weeks.
how to survival float at the Y. I'm solid.
That's right.
Lay on your back.
It's on your stomach,
Lay on your stomach?
and you just raise up for air.
I don't think I
Because
can
if you're
do that.
laying on your back, you're going to catch waves in your ship.
Yeah. See, I told
We'll cut that out as real so that everybody knows.
Yeah, we'll go through the whole survival float thing.
All right, there goes into something. Let's go over some survival tips for people.
Oh,
I like it.
that could be good.
Yeah. If you had to give somebody 5 survival tips, they're not on the Titanic. They were on a Greyhound bus. It crashes in the middle of Africa, and they need 5 survival tips. What are you telling them?
Keep your powder dry.
Now, why are you asking me this?
I don't know. Just I'm thinking you have a better chance of crashing a Greyhound bus than you do a plane.
No, but I mean, why are you asking me? I mean, because we work at the gun store, you're like, they have to know something about survival.
I mean, I would.
You just knew you were supposed to float on your stomach, not your back.
If we all got stranded and we're seeing how long we can survive, I think Dane and I are going out first.
Oh, yeah.
I think you guys are lasting a lot longer than we are.
We're eating you guys.
There we go. So eat.
I mean,
eat
maybe.
the other people.
I mean,
I don't know. I think we could outrun them. I don't know if they'd catch us to eat us.
That's true. I don't think we can outrun a bullet.
I mean, I may give off that impression, but beneath this rough exterior, there's a delicate little swat flower that lives inside there. And that
speed
I
demon.
didn't get the princess nickname by complete accident. There may be a little truth there.
So I feel like out of all your guys' training over the years, they've taught you some survival stuff. No?
I mean, we know some of that shit, but they didn't. I mean, they probably taught us a thing or two, like some first aid stuff. Through.
Herb's like, no.
Why are you laughing? Did you not get some first aid with SWAT and?
Yeah, some SWAT stuff.
But not a lot of survival shit.
I was thinking the oxen story.
The oxen or the cattle?
The ox.
From up at Camp Dodge? Oh, you can't fucking hear that story either, but go ahead, what?
The Korea one.
Oh, where you gained weight on your survival thing, where you caught pheasants and shit? Yeah, ask Herb. And I'll come up with something for you in a minute.
All right, let's go with where Herb went to Korea and gained weight. He caught pheasants.
We had our SRT team. It was called EST in the military, Emergency Service Team. We did a trek. You had 4 days to go from point A to point B. You got 2 servings of food, basically, which were sea rats back then. And I'm the guy that I was on. There's 2-man teams. You do your mapping and compass and all that good stuff to get from point A to point B. They started each team a day apart. So time we went, they weighed you before and then they weigh you afterwards. I'll cut through it quicker. When we got to the other end, we'd both gained like 3.5 pounds. We had a lot of pheasants on the way. We snared pheasants, and allegedly, an oxen died along the way.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Is that a no-go, I take it? I imagine that's a pretty expensive animal. Did you guys, in theory, kill an oxen?
That's what they were saying.
Yeah,
That's what they were saying.
It's a bunch of hearsay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How would that taste if one were to eat it?
It'd be delicious if you're hungry.
Yeah, at that point, I feel like everything was probably pretty good.
Better than Big Mac.
It's no Spadini.
So I'm waiting for my 5 survival
So
tips.
you should have some stuff on you, right? Like on your person.
Like a Sniper Bladeworks knife.
great. That's a
That would
Number
be
one,
great.
a LPC.
Segue.
Well, Mamu is
But
probably
like
what you
have a lighter on you, but have some shit in your pockets in
Fire.
case you would get separated from your bag, because you may not have time to grab a bag. Hopefully you would, but you never know. That's why like some of the pilot stuff for ejection kits, and some of that gear is actually stored on their vest because they're going to have it on them, because you may not be able to get to your bag. Plane, bus, whatever, may be on fire, maybe crashed and crushed in there, so you can't get to it. But having a certain amount of things on your person is helpful, right? Like in the old days, they told you, Ranger-wise, like you should have a pocket knife, a lighter, $5, and a condom on you all the time. Now, that may be because you stumbled into a brothel, but it's also because you can put water in a condom. You can also put it over the end of your rifle to keep debris and crap out. It's light enough that if you had to shoot, you can shoot through it. It's not really going to change how the firearm prints. But I mean, I think having things on you is good, and you should carry them. Have a flashlight. I generally have a flashlight on me every day. I didn't used to, but after I started it, now I feel naked without it, and it's surprising how much you use it. And that also, maybe as you get older, your eyes aren't as good.
You
too.
just need the flashlight more.
But it's surprising how much you can end up using that almost daily. So
Yeah, my daily backpack has got a trauma kit attached to it. I keep waterproof matches in it. I've got some fire starter stuff, extra ammo, a couple extra magazines. Obviously, we carry knives every day, so it's not in my backpack. I've got it in my pocket. Lighter, also.
I'll give you one guess of
Emergency blanket. Got a Mylar emergency blanket in there. They roll down about that big. So
I'll give you one guess of what I have in the back of my truck for survival.
a shovel,
No.
axe.
Close.
That's
Close.
2 guesses.
That was those 2 guesses.
Yeah.
That one was close though.
I have about 40 hatchets. I got them at Retail Rebel on a great deal. If anyone's looking for a hatchet, feel free to reach out. I got a bunch of them.
Are they in there now? I want to see them.
Yeah, I got throwing knives.
We're going to make it. I don't
Where's
care
Dre?
about your throwing
Yeah,
knives.
no,
I want
Try to get the hatchets.
We are going to do a hatchet at some point.
That would be
I wouldn't say
extremely
mine are
cool.
super nice.
Doesn't matter.
Got a
We
deal
can
on it.
always design off of them, but sometimes it's nice to have something to work off of. Occasionally, I will if I get in the mood, I'll get like maybe run down to Sears,
Yeah.
get a box cutter, or possibly like fruit, whatever that might draw inspiration from. But seriously, like if you see one that you like or it's close in size, then take it and work from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll look at your hatchet later.
Hatchets.
Yeah, there's more than one.
40.
He does.
Are they all the same?
I don't know.
No,
You have
they're
40 different hatchets
I'd say maybe like 30.
that are all different.
I don't know. Some of those packs have a lot. I don't know. There's a lot.
Is this one of your marketplace things you were talking about that you just put?
Kind of similar, but I found out that there's a place in North Kansas City. It's actually pretty close to where you're at. On Thursdays,
Cargo Largo.
they
similar.
do.
Similar.
They just do like mass sales of just the most random shit you've ever
We
seen.
should have gone there, but before we did this,
Yeah,
that'd have been awesome.
I did it one time. And I said I need to stay away from this place because I bid on a bunch of shit. I ended up with
Basically, only the stuff that he didn't actually want. Like he missed out on all the cool stuff because the bidding ends at a certain
and then
time.
you get into like an auction with people. Then it's just like an ego, like pride that you got
Right. I'm winning.
you got to win.
Right.
Then you end up owning a bunch of shit
Right.
that you don't need.
Herb and I did that with the Seiko I got the other day.
Yeah.
We didn't get too crazy, but we finally just decided no one's outbidding us on this firearm. Because I told him I'd gone up, and he's like, I went up an extra 70 for you. We're like, we're not letting this prick have this gun. I'm like, fine.
what was it on?
Bolt action Seiko 375 H&H Magnum.
At first, when he said Seiko, I thought it was a watch.
Not a watch.
And I was like, I might know what they're talking
Or
about.
Sako, depending on how you pronounce it.
Finish. They're made in Finland.
Okay.
Great gun.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of ass to it.
We may have to do a mobile retail rebel YouTube video.
That can be another. We have Taco Tuesday, then we can have Thursday Retail Rebel Fights. I don't think we want to go down that
Yeah,
path.
that's a bad rabbit hole to go down.
So now you're working at Shooters as well. How did that come about?
Me or Herb?
Well, I know how Herb did.
I'm kind of.
How did you
I'm
get?
looking through the mic at you.
How
sure
did
which
you
one
so
is your
straight
top.
face like, talking to me.
How did you end up out there?
Herb called me up and said, "You're working for me.
That's pretty simple.
I need fucking help." No, so a buddy of ours owns it, who I've been friends with for years, and then Herb started running it, the day-to-day operations, and he's like, "Hey, I need some help," and so I was like, "All right, that sounds kind of cool." So I came over a day or two and checked it out, and then I saw that Herb had put me on the schedule, so I guess I was working there.
You were like, wait a second.
That's
So you
fine.
have another
So I
lens.
told him, this is just kind of like on the SWAT team. So I told him I could work on Mondays. And then, I looked at the schedule and I was Mondays and Thursdays for a while because I was still trying to do knife shit and do the security stuff. And then he said, "Oh, you're going to become firearms instructor because I need you for the range." And then I get in this class and it's super complicated. I'm like, this seems awful steep just to make sure people don't, do dumb shit on the range. And they're like, "Oh no, this is for teaching concealed carry and all these other 6 other courses."
Oops.
Yeah.
My bad.
So, and that class was kind of a bitch. And then we signed up for another one that was even worse. That one was horrible, the defensive shooting fundamentals.
These are instructor courses.
But yeah, that one's an ass kicker, like mentally.
Yeah.
Physically, it's not difficult.
Yeah, the shooting part of it was a walk in the park, but
I mean, they're really in the shooting part.
Well, we went to, what was the deal we went to that night to film?
That was a should you shoot course.
Yeah. We get there and we're like in the back and it was pretty full. It was
There's
full.
quite a
And
few people in there.
every single person, when they put their hand up, they're like, well, when I was robbed 2 weeks ago, I'm like, I think everyone in here was robbed. Didn't know if they were supposed to shoot or not.
right.
Yeah, it was pretty in depth.
Yep.
It was a really
Very
good
adept.
course.
Yeah, it's one of our free courses that we give. Yeah. We do two a month free courses.
I think
for the
it's
public.
definitely education that everyone in the public should know.
Well, last night they did a legal update about shoot, don't shoot kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think the 80 people were scheduled, and I think pretty close to 45 or 50 showed is packed.
That's
Oh, damn.
fantastic.
Yeah, we were out of chairs. We had to go downstairs and get chairs and haul them upstairs. Yep.
Why's Lance grinning over there?
Thinking about the legal update. We had to do legal update at the sheriff's department. You remember those?
Was that the
Once a
one?
year at the prosecutors put on, and you would go over to the courtroom.
That's when you were intoxicated?
No.
Allegedly.
So
Also,
hang on.
also hearsay.
Don't get to the fucking punchline before I set the story up. You're not a very good straight man here, Herb. But they would do this, and once a year you had to go to this legal training. And there was a few new things in there. A lot of it was the same shit from the year before. It was not super beneficial. They'd kind of provide food. So the last year I went, before I'd quit, I show up, and all the food's gone, and I'm in kind of a bad mood. I don't really want to be there. So I start taking some food orders for some people that missed it, and I go to Burger King. I show back up late, still in kind of a bad mood, and I'm watching one of the prosecutors, and he's eating some pizza that he'd stashed and drinking beer, and I'm like, this is kind of bullshit. But I'm like, you know what? He's here every night. I mean, I think it sucks for one night. This dude's here like all week because each different set of agencies would get lumped in there for whatever their night was. So I'm at the break. I go out to the car, and I happen to have some Jack in the car, and I come back in. I'm drinking some Jack. It's kind of low-key in the back. I text my buddy, you want a Jack and Coke? I went to the car. He's like, yeah, maybe in a minute, thanks. So I keep drinking through this, and then, I'm a little toasty. And then they were at the back, and they're like, okay, now Chris Sufert from the prosecutor office was our test drinker tonight for the new DWI check stuff. And I'm like, oh, he's drinking for a reason. So I'm like, I went back to the trash. I'm like, maybe I better throw that pint bottle down below. Oh, no. We're not supposed to be drinking here. Oh, shit. Yeah, I thought everybody was drinking.
Well, he's doing it, so.
Yeah.
So that was
fun.
that.
Knife-wise. Well, bring it back around. Knife-wise, what did the progression look like from garage to where you're at now? Because I think that's where we left off.
And from Herb's point of view as well, because we've heard it a little bit from Lance. We know Lance to be pretty humble when he's talking about the knives and such.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Went from
We
Lance.
paid him to make sure you said that during this.
I got to do something because now he's mad at me.
I paid him too, so.
We must have paid him more. Because he disregarded everything you paid him.
We went from his garage to a metal building that I had rented half of it for. At that time, I did hardscapes and stuff like that, and I was painting for him on a pretty regular basis at that point. We didn't have, we had no running water there. We had heat, no air conditioning. We had a toilet. It was a Home Depot bucket.
Perfect. That's all you need.
We did have a toilet bowl on top of it, so it wasn't so bad.
Well, you're classy.
Right? We are. I mean, you got to get by, right?
You can buy those in the store now. It's like all one unit.
I think Tony made ours for us, didn't he?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Fortunately, they opened a new like a nicer convenience store down the road, so we could roll in there. It was open 24/7. That was good.
Yeah.
So you could shit in their toilets.
Yeah.
Well, and get a Diet Coke.
If you had to.
Yes,
Otherwise, you had to drag, if you needed privacy, you drug the bucket into the grind room. So the amenities were lacking in that first shop.
Grind room / restroom.
I'm going to start this. What kind of family are we, Lance?
We're a shit with the door open family at Sniper Bladeworks. We have no secrets. Except for that other one.
Except for the secret that we just talked about.
Yeah, except for that. But no, that building was cool. It was horribly hot in the summer. I mean, it was like 110 plus. It was almost not workable at certain hours of the day.
We had nice skin.
Then we moved to Northtown, and we're there for a number of years. Then we moved to another spot in Northtown, and we're there for a handful of years. Then I had stuff closed down for a couple years and was working full time. And then we came back to Northtown where we are now.
Yeah, when we originally started with you guys, the first time I talked to Adam, and I'm like, hey, yeah, we're meeting down there tomorrow to do content.
Oh, yes.
And we roll up to some other place.
Yeah.
We just walk in. We're walking in, cases, everything. This lady at the front desk looks at us. She's like, can I help you guys?
1331.
I'm like,
No, the other one, the Lynn one, I think.
1924 Lynn.
yeah. I'm like, we're here to do content. She's like, may I ask who you spoke with? I was like, Adam, She's like, "Who's Adam?" I'm like,
It's like, I feel like
Wow.
we might
I'm
not
like-
be in the right spot.
I'm like, I feel like you're pretty new, old lady. I'm like, Lance. She's like, no. I was like, Houston? She's like, no. I was like,
Knives?
what do you guys do here?
What did they do?
I felt
it was
like
like
it was it roofing or siding or landscaping or
I think it was siding or
some totally unrelated.
which
Yeah,
the
knives
crazy
is
thing
way
was
cooler.
they didn't have a
Agreed.
single logo anywhere.
So you signed them up?
What I should the lady was not a lot of help.
Oh,
And
that was a good building, though. We had good times there.
Yeah, we had nice space. I mean, the space we're in now is good to start with, but we don't have as much room. You know, there's some gear that we need to get and upgrade, and we don't have the room to do it exactly as we're set up now. But we like the North Kansas City area.
And
it's
go ahead. I'm sorry.
go
That's
for
it.
it.
We're getting ready to overhaul our back room. We got to put a drain and stuff in. So if there's a good plumber out there that wants to do trade, come find me. What's it called? Hydro dip. We're going to do our hydro dip thing back.
Oh, nice.
I'll get my airbrush and stuff back out, and I'll go back to some. I won't do it at the degree I did for him before, but we'll do some of the good stuff.
I need help, dude.
We're gonna have to do some custom MMG blades.
No problem.
That would be cool.
Yep.
So how'd you get into airbrushing and stuff?
My dad was a professional pinstriper back in the day. I mean, for 50-something years. He got me into, I can't pinstripe. I can't draw a fucking straight line with a ruler.
That's a rare talent in today's world now.
Oh, yeah. My dad, he was a badass at it, too. His name was El Brush,
That's awesome.
like the Mexican El, E-L,
Yeah.
Brush.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of artistic with an airbrush. And I just started painting stuff. I started basically with motorcycle helmets, and then I moved on to and plugged our buddy Tony. He owns Good Times Auto Body in Parkville. So I would paint. He would help me with the prepping them and sand and all that good stuff. And I was learning that way. And then I would go back and airbrush them at my house. I had a little paint booth, and I'd take them back to him, and he'd clear them for me. Right, free of charge. Never charged me a dime. And then I started doing motorcycles and stuff like that, and then just went into guns and blades. And then with the opportunity with him, I mean, we had some pretty badass knives that went out. I mean, we did the Man and Woman Wild show. He made the knives. I painted them. They kept those, didn't they? The pink one and the
Yeah, I mean, they didn't come back. That or they gave them to the guide service they used.
So
But
yeah. So we've had him play. I mean, he's been in Blade Magazine bunches of times and won the Blade show down in Atlanta. Good times. We've had really good times together.
I feel like you guys have like dream jobs of what you do. You play with knives and guns all day, every day. So I don't think I couldn't complain.
It has its perks.
Yeah.
It does.
Lance gets to smoke cigars in his office.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah. I don't
Now, if we could just figure out how to make money, that would be even
Right.
better. Now, that's one that would make Mrs. Sniper happy.
that one.
Yeah,
He said that one for her. He's like, she's gonna like this.
That's right.
we're trying.
What else about Lance and his knives? Blade. We've been to Blade a ton of times. Went to Vegas a couple times. Obviously, I'm not allowed to tell any of those stories either. So,
Also secrets.
yeah.
Just joking. Now, nothing really good happened at those.
I feel like if you're spending all day at the knife show, by the time knife show's over, you're probably ready to catch some sleep before the next day of the knife show. Or is that not
That's time to party.
No, we drank pretty hard back in the day.
Yeah.
Went out to, they call it the Pit.
Yeah, it's like an Embassy Suites, but much, much bigger. The name of it will come to me here in a minute, in Atlanta.
Ricky doesn't understand.
Or Smyrna.
Ricky doesn't drink. He doesn't understand what the party's like.
You don't drink at all?
I don't drink at all.
Wow. You're the man.
He's never had a sip.
Not a sip.
You're not missing much.
No.
That doesn't sound
You
like
got
it.
all your money still.
Do what?
You got all your money still.
Well,
It's expensive.
I mean, I had a fun run with it, but I'm pretty glad I'm done, I think.
I think.
And you never know. I might get back on that horse, but I don't think it'd be pretty.
It's definitely a horse I've backed off a lot on.
But on a side note, so you didn't have any Sniper Bladeworks knives made while you guys were on SWAT, right?
No.
But could you, obviously a lot of SWAT guys use them now and carry them every day. Could you guys speak as to the ergonomics of that pistol grip and how it's functional in that line?
Sure, I think.
If you want.
I mean, basically, I just...
Because they have a very distinct look that a lot of knife makers don't have. And a lot of people sometimes get a little confused, and they're like, they might think it's just a design element, but there's a little bit more nuance to it than that.
So I really just went through all the stuff that I wish knives had, is when we came up with it. We may have mentioned this before, but I took a lot of knives that I owned that were fairly comfortable, and I was like, what could make it more comfortable? What would make it better, at least in my opinion? What would make it feel better and, hopefully more useful, or, work some angles, some mechanical advantage. And that's how we got there. So I kept playing with that design. Then I kind of looked at, all right, how's my hand built? What else could we do that none of, because some of the knives I just took features they already had and played with them. But like when we started doing the hump on the back, I mean, most knives don't really have it, or they don't have it there, and that's how we added it, because that's just how your hand's built, right? It takes up that gap if you've got a kind of saber grip. So we did it. We liked it. And then we just kept doing it. I mean, because I'm more concerned about how it feels and functions than how it looks. I mean, we'd like it to look nice too, but if it doesn't feel good, you're probably not going to carry it.
That's the worst. When you get a new knife, you're all excited about it, and then you go to, maybe you buy it online, you go to put it in your hand, and it just, lots of hot spots, it feels terrible, clips in a bad place, it's just pushing right into your hand.
Like, I get that sometimes with my Craftsman box cutter.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when I've tried to open up my Amazon packages with a banana.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. Ever.
Right. So we're like, how can we make that better?
How do we
combine those two
to get into the box?
Get to the perfect knife. But yeah, so we just took things that we wanted and what would work. That was part of it. Part of it may be purpose driven. Like, I want something that's more like a pry bar. Like the dashies. Now, they've changed a little bit. I think they're sexier now. But the first run of them, we made them for Herb and some of our buddies, because they gave them a bunch of crap about you can't have a pocket knife or you can't have any knife, but you could have a rescue tool. So it had to have multiple functions
on the plane.
Yeah, when you're on the plane. So we're like, okay, well, this is a knife blade, and it has the bottle opener in it.
Which is important.
Two functions. And they would run them if they were dressed up behind their tie, if not tucked into a waistband or something. But, that's kind of how that came about. So it was just stuff that I thought looked neat. And then, all right, can we make it functional? Mamu is just, look at a K-bar, basically, or a field knife. And then we put the sniper kind of touch on it.
I feel like all the knives are very functional, and I'm not a knife expert by any means. Ricky is much more of a knife expert than me.
I want to go that far.
I'm not sure I am either. A lot of days, and I've been doing it a minute. But yeah, I mean, that's our look at it. I mean, and we're still trying to change it. I mean, we get them out into people's hands. Those SF guys have been helpful. We've talked to some bushcraft people. And most of them generally seem to like them where they are. But if they come up with some critiques or changes, we'll see if we can get those incorporated.
And the funny thing is, I feel like everyone that likes your knives are first responders, people that use knives, someone that actually would carry it to pull it out and actually use it. The people that say something negative about it have never used a knife for anything in their life.
Could be.
I'm assuming.
We'll delve into that a little more. We'll see. I mean, maybe those people are right. We're like, we've been wrong this whole time.
That's right.
I think the thing should just be straight as a string. Was out of my mind.
But it's like, hold something that's straight. It just doesn't feel right. I feel like there are a lot of knives on the market that you grab, they're straight as an arrow, that just try to make them cool as looking as possible, but the actual use of them is next to none.
Well, it's just you just have to manipulate your hand or your wrist different to use them. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. It's just different. You know, there's just a way that we like to do things, and that's cool. I mean, everything shouldn't be the same or look the same. It may not be for everybody. I think it was Morris Day said this dance isn't for everybody, just the pretty people.
Right.
You know, so that's just kind of a niche that we've fallen into, and we like it. And, you know, we'll keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore, and then we'll start making straight knives.
Well, that'll be the day when I see a straight sniper knife. I think what they have is working.
Overbuilt and sexy.
Overbuilt and sexy.
It's like me.
Just like Lance. That's going to be Lance's new Instagram bio.
Yeah.
Overbuilt and sexy.
We'll have to tweak that.
So getting towards the end here, I still feel like I had 5 survival tips. I only got 1.
Knife.
Carry a bunch of shit.
Carry it on you.
Yeah.
On your person where you.
That was 1.
Where you could. That's just a tip. But what about on you? What are you going to carry?
A knife. What if we're getting on a plane?
So you could take. I mean, that one kind of jacks you up because you got to get rid of almost everything. I mean,
I carry like some Band-Aids and shit, but that's about it.
You're just kind of hosed there. Now, Mikey makes that rescue tool, which I've got on a plane with. It has scissors on it. You got to get rid of the glass breaker. It's basically like a polymer pair of knuckles. How they let you get on a plane with that is ridiculous. But
so now we're moving forward. So something happens. I got my pockets full of stuff. 4 more survival tips.
Learn how to use it.
Okay.
Would be a good one. You know, you could watch some videos, read some books. That's a good start. But actually physically know how to do it would be helpful. When you the first time you do something, you don't want it to be under stress.
Yeah.
And when you're freaking out.
And I feel like that applies to shooting as well. Like, you don't want the first time you actually use your concealed carry to be when you need to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bad situation to be in.
Yeah, training's important.
It's a perishable skill.
And, they could do this in business too, but like wargaming, right? I mean, thinking through possible scenarios and that. So if something happens, it's not just the first time that it's ever occurred to you. You know, what could go wrong on this, right? Like if you do it really horrible or really take it to its worst level, it's called the parade of horribles, right? What is the parade of horribles here? But, think about, okay, these are the things that could go wrong, and how would I deal with them if they come up, right? Okay. And you kind of do that for SWAT ops. What are we going to do if we take fire going in? What's our plan if somebody gets shot? How are we getting to the hospital? Who's driving? Where are we going to rally back to? And then what are we going to do?
It's just basically like when I was a team leader in the SWAT team, that's the first thing that we did. We came in early and mapped everything out. What's our route? Have we contacted the county to make sure that we have a description of the house? What's the confidential informants telling us? And like Lance said, we have an ambulance staged down the street from us, out of sight, so they can get there as fast as they can if something bad goes wrong.
Yeah, or we're just going to scoop them and go.
Right.
Because some of those ambulances don't really drive that fast, and you're like, fuck that, just put me in the car and let's go.
Yeah.
And get me somewhere. Stick your thumb in it and let's go. Stop the bleeding. Speaking
of, like he was talking about, additional training and stuff like that, we're actually in the process of doing a FATS machine at the office, a simulator. Kind of like your VR stuff out there, but an actual laser gun. You'll have one of the systems we're looking at has 360 different self-defense, home defense scenarios. So we're looking at that really hard right now.
What's it called?
It's a simulator machine, but FATS was the original one, FATS.
Gotcha.
A lot of cops use them, different bigger departments have them. Use training. Like we do a CCW class with it, and then, maybe put some real basic stuff in there. But then when you come to like the DSF class that Lance and Chris teach, we go through all the actual firing and stuff on the range, and then we do some scenarios. Well, this would allow us to do scenarios on the actual system. You know, it's instant. It tells if you make it a hit, the time, how long it took you to draw from the holster. It's everything is there in the data. You know,
That's awesome.
So you can critique it at the end and like, okay, it took you 2.2 seconds to draw the gun, you're dead.
Yeah.
You know, when you need to have that out on, you know, in less than a second. So
I feel like that'll be hugely beneficial for
It
you
will.
guys and
It will.
everybody that's going there.
yeah, we're taking back. I don't know if I told you guys, we're taking back the entire shop.
Yeah.
Shane bought a building, so we're going to be taking the entire thing. And then there's an archery range upstairs. We're going to turn that into a shoot, don't shoot with airsoft.
Oh,
Yep, that'll be so.
That'd be cool.
It'll be a force on force kind of thing. You know, we'll run basic stuff. We'll probably do them in the evening time. You know, 6 to 8 or 6 to 9, a couple days a week to start with, just see how it takes off. But at some point, you guys can come over and say, hey, I want Chris and Lance to be the bad guys. So you want to shoot a firearm instructor. Now, the difference is he gets to shoot back.
Oh, we're out.
And it costs more.
And it costs more, right? Lance is like, he is my delicate SWAT flower,
you gotta pay extra for
but
Lance.
he's not cheap.
I can't be bought.
He likes nice things. He's got to pay for them.
Absolutely.
What are we talking a price tag is on Lance here?
Well, we've already established that I'm a whore. Now we're just negotiating the price.
No, that sounds awesome though, and
Yeah,
that'll especially for people that might be a little bit nervous getting into actual firearm training. That would be, and the virtual would be an excellent segue, I would assume.
Yeah, that's I was actually pretty surprised with just the one that we filmed, the shoot or not shoot class, on some of the stuff I was learning even in there. And it was, once again, I think that's information the general public just doesn't know, and let alone even being in situations. And we were just talking at Pin Night, like when I go up the first time, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of people watching me shoot right now. Like, and then you sit there and think about like if you're in a scenario where you're actually having to use a gun for something for protection, like looks a lot different when that time comes.
The scenarios that we do, we run like on our DSF. I mean, we try to make it as stressful as we possibly can, but you're just shooting paper.
Yeah.
You know, you got 2 instructors. One's, you know, calling out what's happening. The other one's the 911 operator. And it's stressful. You can see that stress level goes up, but it's like I told you guys last time, the CCW class, you know, it's kind of a joke. You're going to shoot 40 rounds, 20 for practice, 20 for the thing, and you go to your county and you get your CCW permit. And a lot of times that's the last time that person shoots that gun ever.
Yeah.
They just pay their $50 and 5 years later they renew it.
Were you grinning
I
at?
mean, nothing could go wrong there.
Yeah, nothing.
Any final thoughts? We've touched on shooters. We've touched on sniper. Your guys' stories.
When are you guys going to go pig hunting with us?
That's supposed to be what, May something?
His name was on the board there for a little bit.
I know.
Who?
Yours.
Who put it up there?
There was a Robert M.
There's another me. It must have been Dre.
It was Dre. Dre was on there. I think that would be a blast.
Yeah.
You go.
How often do you guys go?
We've got one scheduled for May, July, September, and December.
What are you shooting this pig with there?
Hopefully the 375 H&H Magnum will be done by then.
Is that what you're working on over there?
No, that's a 308.
Oh.
He's trying to get it back from me.
It sounded like it's been passed around a few times.
It's been
Yeah, it got traded around.
it's a great gun.
No, it is. It's light. It'll hit all those, or most of the scout rifle,
Criteria.
that you need.
So we might have a Retail Rebel episode and a Hog Hunt episode.
No, I mean, I think that would be interesting content. I mean, it's
Retail Rebel?
that, but the hunting part, I mean, I think the hunting thing would be cool. And I don't know if we talked about this last time or not, but really the best things about hunting have nothing to do with hunting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's the build up to the trip. You building a special gun, everybody getting ready. Somewhere about 2 weeks out, I start a countdown timer that I text down, and it just starts clicking it down. And we keep texting it back out, getting our gear ready, lining up our chef if Irvin's going.
Do you stay awake in the car ride on the way down?
No, I got to be rested for when I get there, man. I want to be ready to roll.
You already knew the answer to that one. You asked.
I mean, I stayed awake till we got on the turnpike, right? So I made it out to Cabela's. Somewhere between Cabela's and Topeka, I was out.
He was like, as long as we don't stop at Cabela's, because if we stop at Cabela's, I want to be awake.
Oh, yeah, you got to wake me for that.
Yeah. So if not, after that, I'm good. I've cleared all the fun stuff.
I woke up somewhere a little before Oklahoma. Kind of was like, oh, yeah, we're in a new state. I might have nodded off again for a minute, and then we were there.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's a pretty short trip.
Where did we stop?
I'm not as excited about that as you are. I mean, they're okay. I don't lose my mind for it.
Fried pie place down there.
Fried pies?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man.
All right.
Lance says
He says they're all right. It's not as good as fried turkey.
No, it's not. I mean, it's it's either savory or sweet. It's like a fried, like an apple pie or whatever, but they're fresh. I mean, they're not, it's not like a McDonald's pie. I mean, the concept's the same. I mean, it's a much better product than that, but it's just, I don't know.
Well,
I just don't geek out over them.
They have meat pies. That's what I like.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is a meat pie? Is that like a chicken pot pie, but they do it with...
But think about it, sandwich size, but it could be like that. They had one that was a sloppy Joe, basically, inside there. It was pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't have stopped both ways each time for it. I would like to have gotten home, but...
And make sure there's a restroom nearby.
Yeah, there is that. Like, where's the Stuckies? Like, I need to stop.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
I think we covered all of our bases. Everything that was PG enough to make it on here. We got 9 minutes of content.
Yeah, I mean, really, maybe we should use this as a warm up for next time. And like these are the 4 things that we touched on that might have some value for somebody, and we'll try to elaborate on those.
I think on this podcast, somebody came for the stories, the entertainment side. I don't think we gave anybody a lot of. If you could give somebody a great marketing or business tip, what would you give them?
That's why we hired you. Hire Moss Marketing.
There we
Good
are.
Lord.
Take it.
Yeah, don't do it yourself. Go hire pros for that stuff.
Absolutely.
I like that.
So my tip that I think both of you guys would most likely agree with is do something that you enjoy doing, because even when it's hard, you're going to keep doing it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, I've had jobs that I dreaded going into, and you just can't keep that up. I mean, at the moment, trying to juggle stuff, I'm doing 3 different jobs each week. But I like them all, and it's doable. But, I mean, could you fathom if you hated those? I mean, you'd lose your mind.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Try and find something that you like, or people that you like. You might be able to, that's probably a scale. I mean, my job isn't the favorite, but the people that I work with are phenomenal, so it balances out. But you got to be happy while you're there, because you're going to spend a lot of time and effort at work, so you make it as enjoyable as you can.
So I really like marketing. Sometimes Ricky's a little iffy,
but he likes marketing so much that it evens out.
It's counterbalance.
Yeah, counterbalance on the whole thing. No, very much enjoy you guys coming on. We talked for like an hour before the podcast even started. We'll probably talk another hour after the podcast.
I think we should roll. I mean, our other one was we should start the cameras when we're there and just see what you get.
We really should. That's where we've talked about it. We haven't executed it.
But, I mean, I feel like there's some real pearls that get left out in the other room.
So I think sometimes, like before the podcast, there's so much that's missed that we've talked about setting a camera up that, like, when somebody gets here, it just rolls the whole time. It's going to be just shotgun mic'd. It's not going to be, like, crazy audio, and it would be just a YouTube version that you could come, like, just see a pre-podcast. If, like, you watched a podcast that you really liked, you could check out before and get an additional.
Good idea.
Yeah,
I mean, I have a mic, a Zoom Handycam that we can just, or whatever it's called, that we can just put in the middle of the table, and it would kind of catch everything.
Yeah, we might start something like that
Next time.
Yeah,
I like it.
And then there's going to be like 5 podcasts, and we're like, hey, we're still supposed to do that thing before the podcast starts.
Right, and we're going to talk about Africa next time, which we didn't really get to either.
So that's going to be a whole nother topic also. But very much enjoy you guys coming on. I think we always have a good time hanging out and enjoy working with both your guys' companies a ton. They're very interesting. Like I said, they're dream jobs. So I'm wondering if Dre's over there.
Oh, he is.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you for being
Thanks,
here.
guys. Appreciate it.
And we're going to key Dre.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.